Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is January the 18th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Sunday. Hopefully it's been a fun day for you. As for me, I've been pretty good. Not just for today, but also yesterday. So we can go ahead and just rewind the clock back and we'll go ahead and do a full recap. As you know, usually about every other Saturday, I've kind of gotten into this habit of taking the day off. So that's been kind of nice, allows me to handle my errands and get a nap in and feel like I at least have enough rest to get through a long night. So, that's where we're at 35. Okay. But yeah, so we got up early and, I, went after the laundry, was able to get that done. Overall, no problems, no fuss, no muss on that part. So that's good. We love a clean laundry run. Post laundry, we went to the gym. Now, the gym, I want to say overall went well, but I usually on the days for the laundry, I just wind up doing less workout time. I usually just I modify the workout. That's what I'm trying to say. So what I wound up doing today, or what I wound up doing yesterday, was doing a heavy lift session, and that felt good. I even added a little bit more to my squat, so that was cool. And I was feeling greedy. I was feeling good and greedy. And for my deadlift, I was like, okay, I'll add the same amount of weight. We can just go for it. Sure. Mind you, I believe that might have been 10 pounds over. And I've been telling myself, hey, I'm only going to do increases of 5. But I was like, I just did this squat. It's fine. It's okay. I know I can do this deadlift. No worries. I was able to get it maybe not even halfway up before I was like, nope, no, I can't. So I put it down and dropped back down to 315. And I don't reattempt at a bigger weight because I kind of got the yips. I kind of got a little nervous. I knew I was on a time constraint because I wanted to kind of get everything done in around an hour as opposed to when 2 hours that I like to spend in the gym. So I was like, okay, this is fine. It's okay. Move over to free weights. Got that done. Did some core work, and then I did 15 minutes on the Stairmaster. Yeah, that was it, which was nice. I generally don't hate that workout routine. It's just one of those things where I don't like getting used to that because I know I should have more cardio in my day. Just getting in more steps is good for me, what I'm trying to do. So, post the gym though, we come home, have a little snack, do a little stretch, all that stuff. I take a shower, I take a nice nap. So, I'm up, I'm rested, ready to go, and I hit the city. And it was a good time. It was nice being back in Northside, of course, as it always is on the weekend. It was definitely cold. Definitely, we got a little bit of weather towards the end of the night, but, and not even too much weather. It was one of those, where I kind of woke up, towards the next day or whatever, and it was just snowing. It was that kind of beat. But as for the night itself, we went to Chameleon. Ooh, and I gotta talk pizza. We gotta talk pizza. The pizzas was so good. The slices were so good. Now, I don't have all of the toppings details at the ready, unfortunately. That's my bad. But the veggie was some kind of artichoke situation. Banger. The Bianca, which was my favorite of the night, was this sausage, garlic. I think it might have had some kind of spinach lettuce situation or something like that on it too. Oh my gosh. And I'm not the biggest garlic enjoyer these days. I like a moderate amount, sure, but it's so easy to go crazy with it. And I usually get a little turned off by that. It's a little bit, especially after the fact. Oh, now my mouth's all gross. But even though they had whole chunks of garlic cloves in this motherfucker on this slice, I was down. It was so good. And for Chameleon, they usually don't do sausage slices. It's usually a pepperoni situation and then whatever crazy thing they got. So the fact that it lined up that one of the crazy slices that they had was sausage, Oh, I was so happy. It made the night right off the bat. So I was very stoked. Then of course I got the pepperoni slice, and I split some fries with my friend. So that was good. Already we're rolling off to a nice right start. We go to Northside Tavern, hang out there for a bit. Nice chill vibes. Once again, nothing crazy. And then we wind up at Junkers to close out the night. So yeah, I mean, it really wasn't anything that popped out, anything crazy. No major highlights or hullabaloo to really talk about. But it was just good vibes. I will say there was like a nice moment I had with one of the regulars that I normally don't talk to, because we were all kind of sectioned off, hanging out with our people or whatever. But this is just one of those, since it was a little bit slower at that part of the night. We all kind of hopped outside the bar, have a smoke, and just kind of talking stories and stuff like that. And it was a nice reminder that like these moments are always possible, and it's always sweet when they happen in like a organic way. I didn't have to force it. That person didn't have to force it. We're just chilling, having a like nice relaxing time, and talking about life and loss and all that shit. I don't know. It was just cool. It was a nice like impromptu thing for sure. So yeah, but after Junkers, closing time. I mean, more or less. I don't know if we closed down the bar. We left maybe a little bit earlier than that, but we called it quits. Headed home. Headed to HQ at least. And just more or less close out the night with bagels, which I initially was like, no, I don't want a bagel. I'm okay. And then my homie made one anyway for me, and I gobbled that bitch up. It was a blueberry bagel, I believe, with blueberry cream cheese. You can't beat that. It's so hard to say no to that. So yummy. So yeah, we had some of that, and then we sat down and watched SmackDown. So yeah, that was cool. It was a nice way to close out the night. So like I said, I kind of settled down there, got up, headed out, got back home. So that was my situation for Saturday into Sunday. Sunday, we get up, we go to the grocery store. Grocery store was pretty chill vibes as well. I got there at a good time, like before noon. Also wanted to just add a random little bit of a note. I know I talk about like, well, how am I doing in terms of like with the groceries? How are the groceries looking? How is the economy? I wind up like bumbling around and talking about this shit. I feel, and maybe this is a personal heat check. I feel like things are maybe getting not even a lot better or anything, but like a tick better. Like I feel like I'm not paying more at the grocery store, so that's noticeably a good thing. We'll take that. We take those. But also like maybe I'm getting around the same amount of things, same amount of stuff, and I'm paying about maybe $5-10 less sometimes, closer to around $5. You know what I mean? So hey, I'll take that. Maybe Trump's finally getting the memo that he's not doing a good job on this economy shit, and maybe there's some ramifications there. I don't know. Also, I don't know about you, but I feel like also, I mean, we kind of talked about gas, the whole Venezuela stuff, but I talk about that with work, people at work lately. It's like, hey, I mean, gas is also not at like $3, so there you go. He's keeping that promise, I guess. I guess that's why he had to get Maduro, bro. So you could have gas under 270 here. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was all about. Let's see though. Overall though, good grocery run. Grocery run. I wanted to make a note about the chicken, because I talked about that last week. How it was like $4 for me to buy a pack of chicken, and it looked really measly. Didn't look like there was much in there. And then this one was the exact opposite. It was $10 for the cheapest one I could find. And it was like loaded, filled with chicken, like so many tenderloins. So I was like, okay, all right. So hold the gizzards this week. And my last thing I think I wanted to say about the gizzards, because I've been telling a couple friends this just to hear their reaction. They're appalled at me. They're looking at me like I'm crazy. Like I got 3 heads and they're all radioactive. But I made a funny little meal, a little cute Isaiah scran that I forgot to mention for the pod on Thursday, I believe. I was going to mention it in the extra thoughts. I just never got around to it. But anyway, no time like the present, right? So I made this meal on Thursday night, right? I had the remaining amount of the gizzard that I had. And then it was kind of borderline on the amount I wanted. I was like, I want a little bit more protein, a little bit more meat. And I said, you know what I could do? I could add some tuna to the conversation. And so I wound up making a pasta tuna salad with gizzard situation. And look, you won't take my word for this. You won't believe me, but it was yummy. It was fucking good. I also added my friend's Chili oil that I told you all about, that shit, ooh, took it to even another level. Like, it was so good, so yummy. I mean, I would definitely run it back, but it's one of those meals that I just like, even though I ate it, even though I enjoyed it, it's not something that I'm like, oh, I'm about to eat. This is the new meal. This is the new signature. I would not make that, especially for the day after. I was a little, how do maybe I would say a little radioactive. But anyway, needless to say, I say all of that to say no gizzard for this week. We are back on our beaten path, our normal chicken and rice situation. So there you go. Now you know. Anyway, post grocery run, we get back home, get myself together, go to the gym. We're back again like we never left. Nice light day in terms of people. So I was able to get through all the stuff that I wanted to get through. More or less, I don't know. This was a little bit weird in how I tweaked the day. For like my bench, incline stuff, all that, I didn't lift as heavy. I lifted a little bit lighter. I would still say it was closer to the heavier range. Tried to do a little bit more reps. And I kind of wanted to preserve my energy for my squats and, more importantly, my deadlifts. Since I said yesterday, I didn't hit the marks I wanted to hit. And I was kind of like upset about that. So everything goes pretty well there. I do get to the deadlift. I'm able to get like one. I go for another one for my max. So not a PR, but at least I'm hitting my max and I'm happy about that. Hit that a couple of times. And then that was good. That was solid. Did some free weights at a little bit lighter of a weight as opposed to like 70 to like 65. Tried to hit a couple of more reps. That felt good. Got through all my core work, all my filler work. That was solid. Did some cardio. That was good. So yeah, overall good gym session. Love that. Love being able to go full bore. I know tomorrow I probably will not be as lucky, but hopefully I will be. Knock on wood there. Anyway, so then we made it back home, had my little snack, had my little stretch. You know the vibes. And here we are, ready to yap about a little bit of news. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into it. It was another food, a snack I had. I can't remember the day it was this week, but I had a peanut butter and banana. Like, so essentially I just had literally a banana and then like a couple spoonfuls of peanut butter. And that was kind of good. Kind of a little bit of a bop. I normally don't do that. I definitely don't love the texture of both in my mouth, if that makes sense. But like, I like having a little bit of one, maybe a little bit of other. So that wasn't too bad. So yeah. Anyway. Also, sorry if you can hear the kids having a little bit of a ruckus in the background. I would not want to be outside frolicking in this temperature, that's for sure. I say that like I didn't go drinking last night in the said temperatures. All right. From the Hill. Iran protests death toll surges to over 3,300, activist group. A human rights group on Saturday found that the number of deaths during widespread anti-government protests in Iran has reached over 3,300. The human rights group activist news agency verified the latest death toll after 3 weeks of protests, with 4,382 cases that the group said are still under review. So far, 2,107 people with severe injuries have been identified, and the arrest of at least 24,266 individuals have been confirmed, the agency stated in its latest report. So yeah, the number just kept, ratcheting up anytime I was hearing it, from day to day. I know the last time we had covered this story, the situation, it was in like the hundreds. And then I had heard that it was like in like about 1,200 and then up to like 2,000. And then now hearing a number that is like 3,300. So obviously very sad. It's very unfortunate with potentially the number, standing to go up. From what I've gathered, that more or less things have violence, hostilities, a lot of protest activity has subsided, maybe outside of like smaller village areas. But even so, I mean, just a really brutal shutdown in terms of just saying, hey, we're the only people with the guns up top, and we're coming out and we're going to just keep killing and killing and killing. Anytime you guys come out, you want to come out in the street, we're going to come out in the street with a gun. What? And then that's what kept happening until there was, once again, less people coming out and more people in the morgues. So yeah, I mean, just sad, really fucking unnerving to like know that that's something that's happening on a day-to-day basis, like so quickly. Let's see, let me keep reading a little bit more. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said several thousands of people have been killed. He blamed the U.S. for backing the protests and for the deaths, claiming that it is a U.S. attempt to devour Iran. We do not intend to lead the country towards war, Khamenei said in one of several posts on the social platform X on Saturday. However, we will not just let go of the criminals inside the country either. Worse than the internal criminals are the international criminals. We will not let go of them either. So yeah, I mean, there was also this back and forth between Trump and Iran. In terms of like saying like, hey, you know, Trump's like, oh, I support this stuff. You know, you guys should go out. You should, you know, fight for your rights. Da, 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 da. But then at the end of the day, he kind of goes and says later on, you know, days later, like, oh, we talked to, you know, top officials in Iran. They're not going to do any executions. I thank them for that. You know, it looks like there's not going to be any more killings. So you had throughout this whole process, like people being like, oh, it looks like we have like Trump support, da 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 da. Like they're posting like Trump banners and shit and things like that. Next thing you know, they're getting fucking blown away. And then days after that, Trump's like, yeah, you know, well, prices averted. Looks like we're good. Things are going to be okay ish. And it's like, I think some people in some of these pockets of these movements kind of were thinking and leaning on this idea that like, oh, just like what Trump did with Venezuela, he's going to intervene really hard here. Like, this is the time. This is the moment. He intervened before. They did those strikes. And it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, they did theater. And I think, yet again, this is another moment of theater. This is not the same thing as Venezuela. So I don't know. It just is what it is. Not that I was rooting for either side in this situation in terms of, it's not like I'm rooting for, you know, the fucking theocracy and power right now in, Iran. It's not like I'm fucking rooting for anyone that they would want to replace, that regime with in terms of from the U.S. So it really does feel like a really bad lose-lose situation, especially when the people in the middle are people who, you know, are just at the whims of either, you know, what America wants to try to impose on them, and then what their own government, what their own, you know, religious government is going to say, hey, you can and can't do. You know, which has obviously been something that's been a tumultuous, you know, thing for a very long time. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. I knew it was a big update. I was kind of waiting to get to at least some kind of, I don't even know if the plateau point or what word to really say, but like, I felt like this was a good inflection point moment to just say, hey, this is a time to do an update. So here we are, started off there. Let's go ahead and move on to Syria from The Guardian. Syrian army surges into Kurdish-held towns in betrayal, shattering prospects of accord. Syria's army has taken control of swaths of the country's north, dislodging Kurdish forces from territory over which they held effective autonomy for more than a decade. State media said on Saturday that the army took over the northern city of Tabak, I'm sure I'm fucking that up, sorry, and its adjacent dam, as well as the Major Freedom Dam, formerly known as Bath, or it's probably Bath, west of the Syrian city of Raqqa. It came despite U.S. calls to halt the advance. The government appeared to be extending its grip on Kurdish-run areas after the Syrian president Ahmad al-Shara issued a decree declaring Kurdish national language, declaring Kurdish a national language and granting the minority group official recognition. The army advanced after implementation of a March 2025 deal intended to integrate Kurdish forces into the state stalled. Government troops drove Kurdish forces from two Aleppo neighborhoods last week, and on Saturday took control of an area east of the city. So in a way, I guess this is a bit of an update just in terms of Syria in general. I don't know. For me, this still feels like hard just to know, like, so who's I don't know if there's really any good guy here. Like, I feels like everyone's just kind of acting for their own purposes, and things are changing now. Post what is it? Ahmad? I'm getting his name wrong, but Bashar al-Assad, yeah, the last former leader of Syria who was forced out. Post that vacuum now has been filled. We now have Ahmad al-Shara in power. Promises are, being, put up, but not necessarily being kept, I think, for some people. And I think there's fears of like, well, you're saying, hey, this isn't going to be, an Islamist-led, government. And, all people, what is it? Groups are going to be represented here, but we don't feel that way. We don't feel safe. And that seems to be like a ratcheting tension. But also, in both of these situations at this point, both parties are supposed to be kind of working with the U.S. and kind of doing what is being asked here. And it seems like, no, we're kind of having a little bit of a civil moment, no matter how long you've backed either side here. You know what I mean? So it's seemingly working itself out right in front of us day to day. So yeah, I felt like it was good to come back and at least do an update. There are obviously more details in the article, but I felt like, hey, we'll just cover the top half here, and I'm sure there will be something that brings us back to Syria. So yeah, there we go. We'll call that covered for today. Let's move on to some weather related. I feel like this is weather related. Yeah, it's a wildfire. Let me go ahead and take a quick water break though. Oh boy. All right. From CNN, Chile declares state of catastrophe as wildfires kill 16, force thousands to flee. Chilean President Gabriel Boric announced a state of catastrophe in two regions in the south of the country early on Sunday, as raging wildfires forced at least 20,000 people to evacuate and left at least 16 people dead. According to Chile's CONAF, forestry agency firefighters were battling 24 active fires across the country as of Sunday morning, with the largest being in the regions of Nubile and Biobío, where the government declared the emergency. The regions are about 500 kilometers south of the capital, Santiago. In light of the serious ongoing wildfires, I've decided to declare a state of catastrophe in the regions of Nubile and Biobío. All resources are available, Boric said on a post on X. Security Minister Luis Cordero told reporters on Sunday morning that 15 deaths have been confirmed in the region of Biobío, bringing the total death toll to 16 after the government confirmed a death in Nubile on Saturday. Fires have consumed nearly 8,500 hectares, or 21,000 acres, in the two regions so far, endangering multiple communities in the region, leading authorities to declare evacuation orders. And then I believe 20,000 people have been evacuated and at least 250 homes have been destroyed. So obviously it's very sad when any kind of, natural disaster happens. It's very devastating, something like this with a wildfire, doing a bunch of just damage to homes and property infrastructure, but then also to, the fabrics of whole families, people dying and things like that. It's obviously very sad. But apparently not just Chile, but both Chile and Argentina have experienced extreme temperatures and heat waves since the beginning of the year, with devastating wildfires breaking out in Argentina's Patagonia earlier this year. So, yeah, I guess this kind of comes with the times that we're living in, that we're going to see more and more of this kind of stuff with more frequency. So, yeah, I'll be here to cover it when it happens. But, from wildfires to avalanches, from CBS News, Avalanches kill 8 skiers in Austria despite clear and repeated warnings. 3 avalanches across Austria killed 8 skiers, authorities said, as hazardous snowslides continue to claim lives around the world in the first months of 2026. A female skier was fatally buried by an avalanche in the Bad. Oh, I'm totally fucking this one up in advance. Hafgastein area in Austria at an altitude of about 7,200 feet around 12:30 p.m. Saturday, according to the Pongau Mountain Rescue Service. Roughly 90 minutes later, an avalanche in nearby Gastein Valley, south of Salzburg, swept away 7 people. 4 were killed, 2 seriously injured, and 1 escaped unharmed. In the town of Pusterwald, in the central Austria, 3 Czech skiers were killed in an avalanche shortly before 4:30 p.m., police said. 4 of their companions were evacuated to safety. 4 rescue helicopters, mountain rescue, and Red Cross dog teams, and a crisis intervention team were rushed to the scene. This tragedy painfully demonstrates how serious the current avalanche situation is, said Gerhard Kremer. I'm not getting this one right. We're going to say Kremser. There it is. Wow, it's not that hard. Gerhard Kremser, district head of Pongau Mountain Rescue Service, noting the clear and repeated warnings about the avalanche risk. On Tuesday, an avalanche killed a 13-year-old Czech skiing off Pisti. I don't know what the fuck. Skiing off Pisti in the Austrian alpine resort of Bad Gastein. Last Sunday, 58-year-old ski tour. Let me run that back. Sorry. Last Sunday, 58-year-old ski tourer died in an avalanche in the Tyrolean resort of Weerberg in western Austria. In northern Switzerland, a German man was killed in an avalanche, and 4 other people were hurt as they were cross-country skiing on Friday. Last weekend in France, 6 skiers died after being caught in avalanches in various alpine resorts. At least 4 people in the U.S. West have been killed by avalanches this month. Last week, a snowmobiler died after he was buried by an avalanche in Wyoming. That incident unfolded 2 days after 2 men were killed in an avalanche in central Washington state. Earlier this month, a snowmobiler in California, Sierra Nevada died after being buried by an avalanche. Each winter, 25 to 30 people are killed by avalanches in the U.S., according to the National Avalanche Center. So, holy fuck, I did not know so many people got caught up in avalanches, I guess, throughout this month alone. That's crazy. Obviously very unfortunate. Condolences. They're saying risks and things like that, but I completely understand. If you have plans, you have these reservations and stuff, and you're like, well, hey, be careful, there's avalanches. Like, hey, you're already here, skis up, you're going to hit the slopes, right? And the next thing you know, the slopes are sliding on you. Goddamn. But look, don't put me out in the cold. Don't put me out in no snow. I think the only time I've come close to anything like that, we have in Ohio a place called Perfect North Slopes. And as a kid, I went with my friends for like a church teen activity. We did this a few times, but there was 2 types of courses you could do. You could do the tubing, which is what we did, and then the skiing, which you could also do where there was slopes that you could hit for that. Never wanted to do the skiing. It was always oh, that's probably neat, but nah, definitely not for me. I'll just hop on this tube and go down this hill and then rinse and repeat until I get bored, which would usually be about 3-4 times. And that would be the time. So yeah, I'm not much of a snow guy. I'm not much of a skier. I was barely a snow tuber. So, anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our last story for the day. We are moving back to Minneapolis. A bit of updates there on the protest situation at hand. Still popping off. Still things to talk about there. So yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break, and we will see what's up there. Oh, yeah. All right. Our last story comes from Al Jazeera. Anti-ICE rally chases off U.S. far-right influencer Jake Lang in Minneapolis. Hundreds of people protesting against the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, have chased off a small group of people led by far-right influencer Jake Lang, who had announced a march on who had announced a march on a predominantly immigrant neighborhood. Tensions soared in the city, already on edge after a mother of three, Renee Nicole Good, was killed by a federal agent, followed by a shooting of a Venezuelan immigrant last week. Waving signs and screaming chants calling for ICE and Border Patrol agents to leave Minneapolis, the protesters gathered downtown near City Hall on Saturday. Lang, one of more than 1,500 people pardoned by President Donald Trump after their criminal convictions related to the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, organized what he called an anti-fraud rally. Now, I got to pause here to say I have not heard hide nor hair of this motherfucker named Jake Lang. Now, I'm not saying that he's a nobody, that he's I am saying he's a fucking loser. But he might have clout. He might have some fucking space in that community. Maybe he was doing some shit before January 6th. But he seems like just some fucking beetle that crawled out of the fucking woodworks post that and is just trying to keep bouncing on the name, bouncing on the situation and saying, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I think he wanted to use the situation to kind of say, hey, there's clearly a fucking powder keg here. And if I come and keep rocking the boat, hell, I'm only going to get more clicks. And I'm sure Daddy Trump's going to notice me. So, I mean, that's a win and a win, right? So he came to Minneapolis to start some fucking trouble. Fucking anti-fraud rally. Sure, man. That's what this is all about, right? You're trying to stop fraud here. Cool. Because you've heard all the stories. Anyway, about 10 people showed up for Lang's anti-Islam, anti-Somali, and pro-ICE demonstration, while hundreds of counter-protesters converged at the site, yelling over his attempts to speak and chasing away his supporters within the hour to a nearby hotel. A few scuffles broke out, but the Reuters news agency did not observe any serious violence. Now, I love this. Later, Lang posted on X that he was stabbed during a scuffle, but that his protective vest blocked the attempt. Reuters could not verify this account. Also, he made claims with the police, and he made claims about the police that he, talked to them or whatever, and they didn't do anything. And the police are like, he didn't file any official statement with us. So we don't got anything to go, investigate. What the fuck? I think that shit is vaporware. I think that shit is made up. I think he came and he wanted to get fucking attention. And good golly, he fucking got it. But, he didn't get his ass murdered. He didn't get his ass fucking quote-unquote martyred. He didn't get Charlie Kirked. So, they just fucking roughed his ass up. They just fucking ragdolled his ass through the street. You got what you wanted. Ugh, dude, it's just so crazy that you're allowed to do this. He is allowed. He has his freedom of speech and expression. He's allowed to do that dumb shit. And because I've seen it here in Ohio, I've seen it, we've covered it in other places and other stories where you have groups that know exactly what they're doing, holding these little marches, these little rallies, and it's just a group of maybe 10, no more than 20 of them. Or maybe they fucking pop out of a fucking U-Haul, who fucking knows? But they just want attention. They just want to make fucking vibes and waves and then fucking, get beat up on. That's usually what they fucking want. So that they can then say, hey, we have been attacked. We are being oppressed, actually. Do something about this. That is usually what they are trying to accomplish with this shit. And the sad part is, for a guy like this Lang dude, he got fucked up. He got pressed on, all this shit. But it's a win for him, right? He still gets the attention he wants. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. Fuck this motherfucker. Tomatoes for this motherfucker. Minneapolis police said, I already read that. I already summarized that part, whatever. What else did I really want to pull here? Was there anything I really wanted to add? No, there is, the thing I want to, I guess, mention, Governor Walz has mobilized the National Guard, but that does not mean that they are being sent in as of yet. They are on standby. It does make sense. Trump, on the other hand, he keeps hinting at wanting to invoke the Insurrection Act. It's something he's been talking about since he's been doing these fucking, ICE sweeps and pushes of saying, hey, I'm going to use this legal premise to come through and justify all this fucking shit and press harder. Essentially doing what can I say? That's like a martial law thing. Am I summarizing it properly? Hopefully so. I don't know. We're at the end of the episode. But yeah, dude, I got nothing but fucking bullshit to say about this Jake Lang guy. Fuck this dude. Boo this dude. Boo those 10 fucking losers who fucking wiggled on up with him, man. God, could you imagine being in that situation? Thinking you're the good guys? If so, I always question that. Like, do these people actually think that they're morally on the right side of this, or do they really not give a shit? And it's about just self-interest. It's about just getting what you want and like being on that side of it. Which, okay, that's a plot line you could take. It's a path you can walk, I suppose. But yeah, that's it. That's really all I have for today. That's the episode. Hopefully that's a good catch up for, the weekend. Definitely missed you guys. I always miss recording. Whenever I take the day, I'm like, man, I have things I could have said. No, for sure. I'm going to miss so much now because I didn't. And that sucks. I always hate that feeling. But, I appreciate anyone who, lets me take the day, who doesn't go, oh, I'm done with this, actually. He doesn't actually keep to his word of be daily. I appreciate you for just being like, no, it's cool. Take your day, have a rest, come back and tell me what you ate. I love y'all for that. Thank you for giving me that time, that space. Anyway, it's no shill Sunday, so none of that Patreon nonsense. Don't worry about that shit. But hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.